22nd chapter, part 2, about Hitler and the journey to the moon. I will go again in the same idea of the control of the brain, because we live or we're educated in the fear of the paradox. The paradox is panicking the system that is obliging you to choose the safest way that is coming only from fear, that is called in the society free will. I work very often on a list that is on Telegram, a system on your mobile or computer, a list of conversation that I keep in audio, where anyone is welcome, where we speak about a lot of different stuff. Sometimes it's about the drama of somebody, sometimes it's to organize the help for someone, and sometimes it's just somebody who saw an information. And it's always, we're not gossiping, we're going into the knowledge that can allow people to get more free. And lately, I did a work, or I exposed a work, because I found some new elements about the story of Hitler. I will give you the story of Hitler, but before giving you the story of Hitler and the story of the moon and what happened on the moon, because all of this goes together, I will tell you what was the reaction on the list. On the list of people who are open, who are there. It's not a lot of people, it's about 20 people. It's changing, sometimes we're 10, sometimes we're 30, but it's an average of 20 people. Everybody has the right to speak. Everybody can open a new conversation. It's not written, just audio, because I'm blind, and we just talk completely naturally together. And so I started to speak about Hitler. I demonstrated with elements the story of Hitler. And the answer of about 20 people selected, who came because they want to speak about the freedom and so on, was nothing. Not one word. And when I saw that, I spoke to other people, like some people of my family, some people who are less open, just, as a little test. And every time the answer is no, it's impossible. Why? Because discovering this will panic you to see how much we can lie to you, to see how much the manipulations are going to work. It's terrifying to discover this power. So, what is the story of Hitler? It is that I will not give the complete the complete file and so on, because it would be too long. But it is not at all gossiping, or it's a fact of science. It's very easy, again, to go on the internet and to do some research. There's a girl who worked with me a long time ago, maybe I already spoke about her, Ikiri, American. In fact, at the present time, I am working in her house. So she worked with me some years ago in Berlin. And she was very troubled in the mind about a lot of things. And she spent a year with me, learning, practicing, traveling. And she had a lot of problems with me, because she was completely lost. Because she was educated to lie, to pretend, she had the complete American protocol. How are you doing today? I wish you an amazing day. But it means absolutely nothing. They pretend to be open because the protocol of politeness is to speak like this. you know. But sometimes I was joking with some Americans, and they meet you in the park and they say, how are you doing today? And I started my day, but they're already away. They don't expect an answer. It means strictly nothing. And everything is strictly forbidden. As you have seen maybe in the video that I gave on the chapter 21 about this girl, this woman with a horrible story. And when she was in America, her parents said, don't speak, don't say a word. What would say the neighbors? We don't want any gossip. Wow. So this girl, this lady, I'm talking about Ikiri, this American lady, after years she was extremely troubled. And she went away and she decided to prove me wrong. So everything I spoke about, she did some research. She wanted to prove that everything that I presented was wrong. And she found only correct things. She did everything to demonstrate that I was a liar. It was a protocol of security, but at least it's an honest protocol. She said, I'm going to prove that he is wrong. Therefore, I don't care about everything that he told me because he's a fucking liar. So for about 4 years, she's been traveling in different countries, and at the same time, when she was free, she did some research, and she's really good on that, on the internet, about everything that I presented. And 4 years later, she contacted me, that is to say now about a year ago, maybe a bit less, and she said, can I work with you again? You were right on everything. I couldn't find the smallest mistake. I did my best to destroy your theories, but I couldn't find the smaller thing where you lied. Everything that you said is true. Oh my God, it's terrifying. But by doing so, she said, could you come one day in America and we could start to work together? And we started to work, to meet some people, to help, to visit, to discover. And in the next days, we'll have an expedition to the Guide Stone, if you know that. And I will do on my channel a video about the Guide Stone and the story around it and the truth about it. And I would say that the protocol of Ikiri was a very good protocol, because at least she had the courage to demonstrate to herself that I was a liar. And by doing a serious work of research, she said, oh my God, everything that he said is absolutely true. I couldn't find the smaller thing. And I will ask her, you know, and if anyone wants to be in contact with her, I will give as a link down her mail address. And then you can always contact her, you can ask her. So now, all of this to speak and to introduce the story of Hitler. We have the absolute proof that Hitler didn't commit suicide at the end of the war. That everything was organized to go away. We even, and that's what's incredible, a lot of people in 1945 knew that he was living, knew that the corpse that was found was not at all his corpse or Eva Braun corpse. And a lot of people of that time said he left, he was in this submarine. They even have the name of the submarine. They knew where he went, where they went, in South America. And there, he stayed a very long time. And he came with a real fortune, of course, with everything that he had done. He had a lot of gold and so on, so absolute power. And a lot of Germans of Nazis left with him, or not with him, but in the same retreat, I would say. So after that, Hitler had a town that is quite well known in South America. I mean, when you are in the country, they speak clearly about the town of Hitler and so on. It's not even a secret. But at the same time, it's a protocol that we know, it's a business, we had a lot of money from that, but we don't speak about it in an open way. So therefore, Hitler was helped by a lot of scientists with a very good level from Germany, because he was quite ill at the end of his life, but after treatments, after a fantastic, marvelous life in a fantastic country with a lot of money, with thousands of Germans around him, he was perfectly fine and perfectly happy. There was the von Braun who created the V1 and the V2, who is responsible in a concentration camp of the death of 20,000 people. And as he was very good for the rockets with what he created, very talented, he was invited in America, which he accepted at once. So he killed thousands and thousands of people. I think that more than 1,000 V1 touched London, and the V2 even more. So he killed a lot of people with his brain, maybe not directly, but and in the concentration camp, under his power, died 20,000 people in a concentration camp called, I've forgotten now, doesn't matter. And von Braun is going to accept to work for the NASA. But he will ask for the help of different scientists who worked with him, all of them Nazi and so on. And will be organized the Operation Paperclip. In this operation, 1,500 Nazis will be included in the NASA to help the creation of Apollo and everything else. 1,500 Nazis. Knowing that the real story behind the paperclip is that to get these 1,500 people were obliged, motivated to work in the NASA, it is because thousands of others were sent to Hitler. America knew that Hitler was there, but they didn't care. They are not looking for justice. They were looking for weapons. As always, the obsession is the obsession of the weapons. So, America created a complete protocol about blackmailing the Germans to protect Hitler, and for that they had to work in the NASA and to work in a very motivated way. They were not joking. They wanted some real results against the Soviet. Because it was the Cold War. So Hitler, we don't care. The other Nazis, we don't care. What was important was to win in the Cold War against the Soviet. And for that, they are going to organize a huge operation where, okay, got yourself a deal. If you work well with us, we help you for the life of Hitler. And everybody was around the god Hitler. We had a very, very happy life until 1973. He was more or less fine until 1972. Then in 1972, he moved to an hotel that was organized for him in another town because he started to be extremely ill. And there's a doctor, I have forgotten his name, but he was well known during the war as the angel of death. He was the devil absolutely one of the worst, or maybe the worst one, the devil. And this doctor, charming guy, looked after Hitler for the last year. So he stayed Hitler stayed in this hotel, that was the hotel of the other one, in a new country of South America, where he was surrounded by love and care and so on, and he died a year later in 1973. As for the angel of death, he died in 1978 or 1979 in maybe the same country or another country of South America. In his case, it's even more open because his corpse was found afterwards, and we had the official proof that it was like this. So there's nothing that we can deny about. And now, in addition, we have what happened in America with the NASA. So Nixon said that the Americans will walk on the moon before 1970. In 1969 is sent, therefore, the Apollo 11. Now, we know, not as an hesitation, but as a complete, clear fact, that the story of the rocket of the NASA and so on is going to be something about the public relation. And in fact, in this war, in the years before, there is Stanley Kubrick, who was going to do 2001, the film 2001, Odyssey of Space, something like this. And this film is going to be really part of the war, so much that the NASA will adapt what they do, the suit that they have and everything else, regarding the result of the film. So it means that the NASA will change some protocols of the NASA, the rockets and everything else, the suit of the cosmonauts, because they want to be exactly in the alignment of the film 2001. And of course, the Americans, they want to build this rocket to go to work on the moon. And they want also, of course, to do a film about this. They expect 2 billion of people will be watching the victory of America. This is more or less what happened. But a short while before going to the moon, they realize that it is absolutely impossible to do this film. They realize also maybe that there's a possibility, we could debate about it for a long time, that it's impossible as well to go to the moon directly. You have to know that the cosmonauts, and that is very much hidden as well, the 3 of them, and the 2 who walked on the moon and the third one, just after the mission, they all became crazy. One became a monk and was hiding in a monastery. The other one became a deep alcoholic at once. And the third one disappeared totally. We never found what he did. He just disappeared totally. If you are the team who did this incredible thing, how is it possible? In psychology, I have a doubt. You behave like if you were extremely ashamed of something marvelous that you have done. You become alcoholic. I'm sorry, but I have a very serious doubt about this. And if you watch the people who have been turning around the story of the moon and so on, they all have very, very weird stories. I'm talking about the psychology afterwards. And at the beginning of the story of the NASA, there was one cosmonaut, supposed to be a cosmonaut, who was a star in America, a sort of Captain America. And he was expressing very clearly that it was totally impossible to go to the moon. And he was an expert, he was a pilot, he was extremely well known for his courage, for everything. And he said that's a crazy story. And he was burnt in the rocket of the first Apollo. Oh, bad accident. Oh. And you can see a lot of eliminations about a lot of people. So for sure, absolutely for sure, they are totally unable to do the film, and most probably unable to go to the moon. And so they are lost. At the last second, they realize the fantastic film will not work. So they panic. And they decide at the last second, in the 2 last weeks, to do a film before going to the moon, if they go. As Stanley Kubrick did 2001, he still has his studios, so they're going to decide to ask Stanley Kubrick to use their studios to do in 1 weekend to shoot the film. Stanley Kubrick is refusing, then is accepting. We know every detail. And at the end, there are only 4 people from the CIA that were selected. 4 people who were young, who had no family, and were accepted after the film to disappear forever from America, given a lot of money to disappear. And finally, they do that. But Stanley Kubrick is there, and as he's a real professional, he sees that the film is a disaster, so he's going to take part in it. And he will be the leader of this film that is shot in 2 days to do the walk on the moon. And this is why you will find so many different stories about so many stupidities that are not working. When you look at this film, when you watch this film, and I tried to inquire a little bit more about all of this, and I said, yes, but the Russian, for instance. The Russian, they discovered that it was a fake film after 2 hours. But of course, the media are going to stop everything, and the Russians are always dying, they are jealous and so on. So again, this thing is just blocked. And you need to believe in humanity, you need to believe in America, you need to believe in all of this. Basically, America has been spending millions and millions of dollars to bring back 30 kilos of stones of the moon. What is behind this story is that they needed von Braun to develop weapons. But to develop a lot of weapons, you need a lot of money. And asking to the American population a lot of money for new weapons, it was not easy. But to develop the story of we are going to walk on the moon, every American paid for that. Everything was open. So there's a lie that is hiding the lie, that is hiding the lie, that is hiding the lie. It goes so far. But it is everything that's happening to you. Pearl Harbor is exactly the same. The Twin Towers, it's exactly the same. And so many other things. Bin Laden, it's exactly the same. And you have that everywhere, all the time. All the time. So, we have a film that is going to be done. After the film that is done, America is changing its mind, and they realize that it's very dangerous to leave these 4 people alive. But these 4 people, they are agents of the CIA. They are trained, they know how to hide and so on. They received a lot of money. So they have been to South America, somewhere, no one knows where, and they are separated and they live happily with a lot of money. America is going to develop, I think, twice or nearly twice the quantity of people that they selected to find bin Laden. To find these 4 people, 4 Americans of the CIA. They will find them. It will take some time and a lot of money, and they will kill each of them. One had an accident and burnt in his car. The other one drowned in his swimming pool, and so on and so on. One committed suicide, and we found part of his body a little bit everywhere, and so on. The last one that stays is Stanley Kubrick. And Stanley Kubrick is out of the story, is not disturbed, but is going to be stupid enough to come back 5 years later and to ask a special favor to the NASA. And the NASA cannot refuse, because with what Stanley Kubrick did before, they are obliged to accept. But they don't appreciate at all that Stanley Kubrick comes back with his story. And from that, they decide to kill him. And it is important to know that Stanley Kubrick stayed, so it was in 1969, from 1974, 5 years after the film that he did, the fake film that he did, he stayed hidden in his house with his family, who never went out. They were always in the big house and land that they had. They had an army of guardians and everything else. Because he was terrified. Something else that you can check on the internet again. Check this story and go beyond the appearances. And the same, Stanley Kubrick did the film Shining. And in the film Shining, which is during these 5 years, okay, where he's still free to move and so on, is going to do Shining. What is the story of Shining? Shining is somebody who becomes crazy because the guy is aware or is receiving information from ghosts and so on, and is receiving information from that he cannot deal with, and he becomes completely crazy. That's the power of the Shining in the film. And there's the little kid. And the little kid in the film, he has the same power. And at one point, he's going to go to a forbidden bedroom. And when he does that, he has a jumper, a t-shirt of Apollo 11. Of course, it's completely random, you know. Stanley Kubrick is doing the film. He did the other film about the fake film of the landing on the moon. And now this kid goes to this room wearing this t-shirt of Apollo 11. When he goes there, he's going to the room number blah blah blah. But when you take the book, in the film I think they changed the number on purpose. But in the book, it's the room 200 blah blah blah, and it's exactly the number of miles that you have between the planet Earth and the moon. So the kid goes to a room that is exactly the number of miles between the planet Earth and the moon, and when he goes back, when he goes out of the room, he was strangled. So he's still alive, but he cannot speak anymore. His t-shirt is destroyed, he's torn, and he cannot speak anymore. And in pure psychology, it's a way to reveal to the world what he did without revealing to the world. Like this, one day, when he's dead, everybody can know. In a secret code speech, I would say. But when he did that, he didn't put himself in danger, because you have to know the story to understand. When you have the story, you say, yes, of course. But without knowing the story, personally, I watched many years ago Shining in the cinema, and as I had no idea about all this story, I never saw all of this. But when you go back to this film knowing the story, you say, of course, you look at the dates and it's so obvious. It's a pure process of the world. I revealed to the world what I have done, that I was strangled, I didn't have the right to speak. And I became crazy with the power of the shining. Of course. So it's inside the film, it's discreet. But it is really that. And when you go into the game, what do we have in the film Shiny? You have these two girls who seem to be nice and were in fact monsters. They are two ghosts, and they say, come to play with us, Danny, forever, forever. That's exactly what happened to Stanley Kubrick with the NASA. And you watch this film and you say, oh my God, it's a real therapy. The guy did a real therapy in a very clever way. I was caught in the game. I did it, and I'm sorry about it. I had no right to speak for myself, for my family, for my kids. And when you look at all of this, you say, of course, the weapons, of course, the money, of course, Hitler, it was accepted, he was protected because they wanted more weapons. It's the story of the world. It's what's happening with Monsanto, it's what's happening with everything else, of course. But you don't see it. You don't see it because your analytic brain is absolutely controlled by the system around you. That you have no right to look at that. You have no right to realize all of this. And that is terrifying. That is terrible indeed. So I'm going to discover all of this. I mean, I discovered that a long time ago. I discovered some details about Stanley Kubrick lately. I said, of course, it's obvious. The rest I knew already since quite a long time. And as I discovered this, in this red list, this list where we speak between friends and so on, equally, all of us, it's not me teaching, it's everybody talking. And the people who are already people open, they are going to deny totally the topic. And I remember that I tried also with my brother, because my brother was a nurse, he's retired now, but his passion is about history. So I thought, oh, I should try to speak with him, because he's a cool guy, he became crazy. It was as if I were insulting him, and in a certain way, of course I insult him. He says, no, but that's impossible, we have the proof there, we have that, we found his corpse, what are you talking about? It's like aggressing his own private life. And I found that very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And through all of this, with these people I spoke with, or with my brother, I tried also with other people, you can see everywhere the control of the mind, the game of the paradox. If I take your story, I have to reconsider a lot of stuff, and that I cannot do because I have my free will. That's what I have been told from the beginning. I was obliged to follow and to glorify my free will that never existed. So that my analytic brain is keeping the control of everything, my black box. The soul doesn't exist. The essence of divinity that we are doesn't exist. How sad it is, indeed. And from all of this, you can decide to react at one point. It is very important to have the power to be together, to meet on the internet, or to meet physically, So that one point, without having a religion, without being obsessed about something, just having a network of people who have dignity, who are able to react, to help, to take position about this kid, about this story, about this problem here, to share information, to see that you can have more and more connection to the source of goodness without being fanatic in a crazy religion, without being rejected by everybody, but having a network of brothers and sisters, not because they believe in your God, in the name of this church or whatever, but just that they enjoy the real free will, the divine free will, the acknowledgement of the energy of the source of goodness that we all have within ourselves, and that we develop for the power, for the pleasure of the power, for the pleasure of the love, for the pleasure of the life, for the pleasure of the coherence, for the pleasure of the power, but the divine power, not the power to put people down and to take money and so on, for the pleasure of doing real things, of having the courage to look at the truth, and therefore to become free. That's what I try to offer to everyone. So if anyone one day you feel happy to meet me, you're absolutely welcome. You have nothing to pay. I'm never looking for money. Never. I go to your house and we spend 3-4 days, 1 week together, or you come to a place where I am in a journey, in a humanitarian action I'm doing somewhere, or you come to a place where I have a meeting with different people and we spend 3, 4, 5 days, 1 week together. What do you have to pay? Well, it's nice to pay a bit of food because we pay for the food, so it's normal that you pay for the food. And if you can give a little something for the electricity, the water, because it's always in a house that is always full of people and so on, so they spend more money, but it's, I don't know what, 10, 20 euros maximum. And that's all. For everything that I do with the people, I have never been asking for any kind of money. Never. If you want to spend money, put your money with my money so that we help these kids, these situations, these people. It's not a theory. I do it. It's my life. I am proud and happy, as long as I am alive, to be an element, a manifestation of the source of goodness. And I invite you to exist at that level of awareness, of action, of accomplishment. Have the courage to look at the truth, because this truth that you can discover everywhere around you shall set you free.